if there's a goal that you're trying to repeat that maybe you failed in the past, it could be math class, it could be working out. I've had that where I'm like, oh, I just keep going, and then I just hit something in my life, and it just my routine goes out of whack. I lose it for like a couple weeks, and then I'm trying again, and it's hard. Being aware of the obstacles that you faced in the past, really sitting down and being like, okay, I've done this before. What can I do different?
Welcome back to my channel. I'm Cassie Rose, and today I have a special guest with me. This is Evelyn, my best friend.
Hi, I'm Evelyn. So my name is Evelyn Pina, and I'm 22 years old. I was born and raised in San Jose, California, and right now I'm studying communications and marketing with Arizona State University. Marketing is my jam. I love that stuff. So yeah, thank you so much for having me here.
Of course. So I brought Evelyn in because today I wanted to talk about something that I care about so much, she cares about so much, and that is setting practical, smart goals that actually help you reach the dreams that you have. And so we're gonna get into this today, and we're going to talk about what practical goals are versus unrealistic goals. We're going to talk about how you actually set those goals, how that's going to affect your life, and maybe what roadblocks there are to setting those goals. So we're gonna jump on into it and get started. We're gonna talk today about something called SMART goals. And before we get into kind of the details of that, I'm just gonna do an overview of what SMART goals is. SMART is an acronym that a lot of business professionals use to explain a strategic way of making goals. And so SMART, S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, sometimes it's realistic depending on the one that you look at, and T is for time-based. So we're going to get into this, and we're going to just talk about these one by one and talk about how we can do them in our own lives and what it looks like. So I want to start with talking about specific goals. What do you think a specific goal looks like?
I think depending on like what area you're wanting to set a goal in, being really specific it's very helpful, because I think a lot of times, like when we have goals, we kind of have like picture in our minds of like what we want it to look like. I think for me, what helps with being specific is writing it down. Like if you write it down and you are super specific, for example, like let's say like I make a statement saying, I want to lose weight. I've been telling you this for a while actually, so I maybe should, this is a good example. And if I just say like, I just put it out there, like I want to lose weight, that's my goal. But if I'm not specific saying I want to lose this amount, like I want to lose 2 pounds, 1 pound a week. And I just like say like, that's exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it. If I'm specific, that's going to help me to break it down more to actually be able to attain it. Yeah. So being specific is important. And the more specific you are, the easier it'll be for you to see how to get there and when you get there.
Yeah, I think the really important thing for me when it comes to a specific goal is that it's actionable. So this is something that we learned in a class. We were in a leadership school together. We learned in a class about getting stuff done, and it talks about actionable, you're laughing because that class was, actionable steps. So like if you're writing out a to-do list or you're writing your goals or something, make sure that the thing that you're writing down is something you can actually do. Not just like, my goal is to work on my business. Okay, yeah, that is something you can do, but get more specific. What do you want to work on? You just need to refine it and refine it and refine it until it's something really tangible that you can check off a list and say, I did that.
Yeah, and I think that also like knowing that anyone can set a goal. Like if you're out there and you're thinking like, I have no idea how to do this, like I don't think I'm a goal setter or a checklist person, like I wasn't either. And it wasn't until I started putting these things into practice that I actually said, you know what, I can achieve my goals. I can do this thing and have the checklist and do that stuff. Because I would hear people, talking about goal setting, and I'm like, I have goals. I want to lose weight. And then just that was it. And so being specific is definitely going to help for you to be able to achieve those goals.
Yeah. That also brings us to the second part, which is measurable, which I think these both like play together really well. And measurable basically means, like Evelyn was saying, I want to lose this many pounds in this much time. When you say I want to lose weight, I mean, you could lose like what, 8 ounces and you lost weight. That's not really what your goal is. So to make it an amount that you can say, like, I know I accomplished this because I set a standard. I set a line marker. Is that the word? No. I set a goal. That's measurable.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Okay. Right.
Yeah. I think that's the part where it gets me. That's where I'm like, oh, hold up. Because we'll talk about like, oh, we want to see this goal come to pass. We want this to happen. And we have these ideas, but then you have to ask yourself, okay, how do I measure if I'm getting there?
Yeah.
Not even if you've gotten there, but like you're making progress there. And I think that for the example we're using right now, which is losing weight, like I think that's kind of easier to measure because it's actual pounds. But when we think about more abstract things, like I want to create a culture of like encouragement in my teams or in my business or in my school, like wherever you might be at, like that's where you're like, okay, how do I measure that? And for me, I help my church out, and so we have a ministry there, and what we do is we'll talk about like, okay, how do we know we're achieving this? Well, we'll hear people. I want to hear 3 kids say something kind. I want to hear 3 encouragements this week, and if I'm not, then I need to reiterate that to them. I'm going to say it again, and if I don't see that there's progress moving forward, okay, then let's go back to is this goal like measurable? Are we making it specific enough?
Yeah, and I think that's where they kind of grow on each other, because you can't make it measurable without first making it specific. Because I mean, if we go for that example of in a group of people in a community, if I want to make that community uplifting and encouraging, okay, well, that's great, but that's too abstract, because you can't make uplifting and encouraging measurable. You can't say, I want 50% of encouragement to increase, but like, what does that look like? It looks like the conversations people are having, the time that they're sacrificing. So the more specific you make your goal, the easier it is to then make it measurable. And the second one is attainable. This one I laughed at because I was listening to a podcast where they talked about this, and the girl was saying an attainable goal means something that you have to actually be able to accomplish. And she's like, I can't sing for my life, so I'm not going to try to make a goal that I'm going to be a singer. And I was thinking about our society and how kids are raised now, because that's not how kids are really raised. Kids are raised to believe that they could do absolutely anything that they want. And that's a great encouragement, but why would we want to waste our time doing absolutely anything when we could find what we're really good at and capitalize on that?
Yeah, I think with that, a few questions that you can ask yourself when it comes to, is this goal attainable, is ask the people around you. Okay, ask your friends, ask your mom. Oh my gosh. Ask your mom. Like, that's something that...
Moms are too honest, though.
They're too honest. Or your sister. Oh, way too honest. Shout out to Cindy. Okay. Yeah, like, I think that makes total sense. We have this idea that, like, you can be anything you ever want to be. And as much as I want to encourage you and help you and, support your dreams, there's strengths and weaknesses that we all have. And so it's smarter to play on your strengths than to play on your weaknesses. Yeah. So a few questions you can ask is just be like, go to your bestest friends and be like, hey, like, what do you think I'm best at? What do you think is my strength? And then ask them, okay, what do you think I suck at? Like, what is the worst thing that I'm at? And play on your strengths. Play on what you can become better at, and find passion in that, because chances are what you're good at is something that you're taking time to actually do. And so just keep pouring more time into that, because usually those are things that you're passionate about. So just discover those kind of things, or what you can do with that strength that you have.
The next one is relevant, and sometimes you'll see SMART acronyms that say relevant or like realistic, but I think realistic kind of sticks with attainable. So we'll go with relevant. What does it mean for a goal to be relevant? I had to actually think about this, because I was trying to think about, okay, goals that I have that are relevant. What does that mean? And looking at society, things that are relevant are things that actually apply to the circumstances that we're in. And sometimes people will create a goal. And I talked about this a little bit in one of my last videos where people will create a goal, but they don't really know why they created it. You know, sometimes you set a goal to wake up at a certain time every day. Sometimes you set a goal to run a certain amount of miles, but you just set that goal to achieve something. But whenever you set a goal, you should actually look at the big picture of your life and establish, is this going to help me get where I want to go? Or am I just doing this so that I can say that I did it? So looking at a relevant goal, I think is important because you don't want that goal to just check a box off your list. You want that goal to be impactful for the rest of your life. And I think that this really matters because so many people are operating without direction. And so if your goals maybe seem irrelevant, or maybe you don't know how to say if it's relevant or not, that probably means that you haven't defined your why in life quite enough. And that's probably another conversation for another time, but you should have a why behind everything you do. And if this goal doesn't fit your personal why for your life, then it should be redefined a little bit. Okay, we have one more and then we're just gonna get into like a conversation about it. The last one is time-based, and time-based basically means that you have a deadline. You have a self-imposed deadline for when you want to reach that goal. That's really, really simple, but it's really important because procrastination is real.
It is so real. It is a struggle that so many of us have, and I've had it many times. So definitely setting deadlines helps so much in really keeping yourself accountable, and even further, ask somebody else to keep you accountable. Be like, hey, I have this goal. This is my deadline. Can you help me? I'm going to try to help me, but can you help me too? And so because that's how you're going to know if you're actually going to, if that goal is happening or not, if once you set a deadline.
And I think that idea of accountability is actually really important too, because a lot of people will set goals, but they don't communicate them to anyone. It's kind of more internal. Maybe you wrote it down, maybe you didn't. And without accountability, it's really hard to accomplish things. And I know that in your life, accountability has been important for you. So how has accountability in achieving the things that you want affected you, whether not having it or pursuing it?
I think there needs to be a balance between having accountability with other people and having accountability with yourself. Because if you have a goal, you should be the number one person that is all in with this goal. And and it comes back to that why, and it comes back to that direction that you want, that it's going to impact you, that relevance, right?
Yeah.
Relevance. And so I think having other people is really good because they'll remind you like, hey, this is your why. This is why you're doing it. Remember how much you cared about this. But at the end of the day, you can't rely on other people to do these goals. This is your goal. Like, this is your life. This is your investment in yourself. And so you need to care about it. And so that's something that I'm learning now. I think back then, like I would always, I still ask friends like for help, like, hey, I have this going on, like, you know, remind me, ask me questions about it. If I have like a deadline, like, hey, like, can you call me this day and ask me if I've done it? Keep bugging me. That's all I'll tell people. Hey, bug me about this thing. But right now, what I'm learning is to keep myself accountable. Is like, okay, no one's gonna do it for me. This is my investment in myself. And so I need to go for it. I need to have motivation. And I think motivation is kind of like, we can't wait for an outside source to motivate us. It has to come from within. And so having that motivation to be like, okay, I'm just gonna do it, even if I don't feel like it. I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna keep myself accountable. That actually reminds me of another technique that I've thought of, is rewarding yourself when you do the goals, because life is hard. It gets hard sometimes, you know, and you don't always want to do stuff. So that actually helped me in math class. I would get myself fills if I finished my math homework, and only then. And if I didn't do my math homework, then I didn't get fills that day. And
fills is coffee.
Fills coffee. It's based in San Francisco.
That's so
and
funny.
That helped. So keep yourself accountable.
I like that idea of rewarding myself. I think that I deserve it.
Yeah, give yourself some love. You work hard. Give yourself credit.
You do work hard. You work really hard. I love that idea though, that the accountability that you have externally can never be greater than the motivation you have inside. And a lot of times when it comes to setting a goal, we lack motivation, and that's why we don't finish the goal. Or we'll think 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the line, oh, I'm not gonna try. Like, I know that I set that goal, I tried for a while, but I've just moved on. And two things come to mind with that. First of all, if you can move on from it, then you probably shouldn't have set that goal in the first place, because it just wasn't relevant to you. If it's something that you're just doing out of emotion or out of a desire, but it's not intentional or practical, then don't set that goal. But also, there will come a time where motivation, it's not emotional. There's a time where you're really motivated because it's exciting and it's like all new and energized, and you want to accomplish this because it has this fuel inside of you. But the thing about passion or motivation is it's a decision. It is not a feeling. And there's feelings that can conjure up a more cognitive experience of passion. Like, we're very aware that I'm passionate about this right now, but there will come a day when this thing you want to accomplish so badly just doesn't seem all that interesting to you. And then you're like, maybe not. But then 5 years down the line, you're like, man, I wish I had gotten my master's degree. Yeah. I wish I had finished college. I wish I had applied for that job. And it doesn't have to be an emotional choice. It just has to mean that you are going to continue to stay motivated, keep yourself accountable, even when the times aren't as interesting, or maybe they're scary or sad, and you just got to push through it. That's just all. That's all it is.
Another thing that I think could help is, if you mentioned like repeating a goal. If there's a goal that you're trying to repeat that maybe you failed in the past, it could be math class, it could be working out. I've had that where I'm like, oh, I just keep going, and then I just hit something in my life, and it just my routine goes out of whack. I lose it for like a couple weeks, and then I'm trying again, and it's hard. And so being aware of the obstacles that you faced in the past, really sitting down and being like, okay, I've done this before. What can I do differently? Okay, what were the obstacles that I faced earlier before, and what can I do now to be like, okay, that was an obstacle for me, was waking up on time, getting my clothes ready, all this stuff to go to the gym. What I'm going to do ahead of time is I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm going to lay out my clothes ahead of time. I'm going to have my bag ready, so I have no excuse but just to grab and go. So finding, like, being aware and just finding, okay, what was the trouble before and what can I do now? Math class, I'm just going to talk to you about my struggles. I have a struggle with math. And I found out that I could not do math to save my life by myself. So you know what? I was like, okay, I'm going to do this math class, and I'm going to have a friend. I'm going to do it with a friend, and I'm going to do homework with them and just stick to them and bug them as much as I can, because I found an obstacle for me for that goal was that I couldn't do it on my own. So be aware, reflect, and look back and see, okay, what can I do differently? What was an obstacle, and how can I, move past that and work around that obstacle so that I can succeed this time?
Yeah, that's really good. And as a resource for any of you guys that are watching this, there's an amazing book. It's probably my favorite book, honestly, but it's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And I'm going to link that down below, and hopefully I can insert an image of this. But in the book, he has this diagram for what a habit looks like. And now we're talking about goals, but habits can be really similar. It's just something that you want to accomplish. Now, a habit is a repeated accomplishment, but a goal is kind of a built up to a certain outcome. And so he talks about how we have this outcome in mind. We want to lose, let's say we want to lose 10 pounds by January, okay? That's a pretty defined, measurable goal. You don't necessarily know how you're going to do it, but that's the outcome that we're looking for. So in this diagram, he shows this large circle, and that's the outcome. And then if we bring it in a little closer, in order to achieve that outcome, there is a process. There's a process of getting up every day and going to the gym, putting out your clothes, stuff like that. There's a process. But at the core of that process, there is a habit. And that habit can be a 2-minute habit. Maybe it's just tying your shoelaces in the morning, and maybe that habit is walking to your car. Like, it doesn't have to be the habit of going to the gym, but you have to build up this tiny non-negotiable in your life that you're going to achieve regardless. And people think that the core of achieving something is the outcome, that losing 10 pounds is the main thing to focus on. But that's just not the case. That's the big picture, but the big picture takes a lot of little pieces to put together. And at the core of it, it's looking at yourself and saying, okay, where are my weaknesses? Where am I not really motivated? Where am I not disciplined? What am I struggling with? Correcting those tiny habits in order to reach that goal. So this kind of came all full circle. I think it'd be really good to do a video about how to create habits in your life. So if you'd like a video about that, comment down below, and I would love to make that for you. My dog is trying to jump off the bed. Oh, she can come in the video. Hi, Charlotte. She's scruffy. Oh. Anyway, I would love to make a video about habits for you, and if you'd like to see that, comment down below. But this is a really big topic. Having these goals, they're really daunting, and we can get scared a lot of the times trying to set these big things and accomplish big things in our life. But I want to encourage you, don't be afraid. How has it been for you starting the journey of being a disciplined, motivated person?
Okay, yeah. So before I go into that, I need to tell everybody my secrets. I'm just kidding, not my secrets, my past life. I was a total procrastinator. I had no goals. I had no direction for where my life was going. I graduated high school with a 1.8. That's really bad, right? That's like
I didn't
really
know
bad.
that.
Yep. I graduated high school with a 1.8.
That's an accomplishment, honestly.
I was probably the lowest GPA. But whenever I tell people that, they have no idea.
Mm-mm.
And because it's been a journey, it's been a struggle for me to find that motivation, find that discipline, because I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up learning to wake up early to go to school. I was late every single day. I didn't grow up learning reading. I didn't have books to read at home. I didn't grow up with accountability from my parents to like do homework or anything like that. And so it really didn't start until college, until I got around people that were doing that and were focusing and investing in themselves. And so I think for me, the biggest thing was reminding myself to keep going. Like when I failed, like I have to keep going. And I think that's what got me to become a planner, because a goal without a plan is just a wish. You cannot accomplish anything. Like that's why habits and routines work so well, is because that's your plan of how you're going to get that goal. When I wake up, I'm looking straight at it, and I'm just reminded of what I had already promised myself. So I have to do it. Like it's that motivation, that commitment that you've made for yourself.
Just to wrap all of that up, I think the best thing that we can find from this is that it doesn't matter if you do it perfectly. It doesn't matter if you've never been a goal setter before. It doesn't matter how much you feel like you are not capable of this. All you have to do is start today and reach out for resources that are going to help you learn the things that you don't know. There's so many resources, and I will share some down below, but just look everywhere you can, because that's all you can do. We don't know what we don't know until we go and find it. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and I think we're gonna end the video there. That was a lot of information. I hope that you guys got something out of it that was helpful. Go ahead and comment down below what you struggle with most when making goals. And if you have any videos that you would like for me to make, more information, something you'd like to learn, go ahead and comment that as well. Like and subscribe to support the dream, make it happen. I'm so glad that you guys are here, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for having me today. This was fun. You're such an encouraging friend, and you really care about people. She's doing this because she wants to help you. So keep supporting her. Love you, Cass.
Charlotte is sitting below us. There you are. Okay, she doesn't care. Charlotte doesn't like me.